Time Flies by Dennis Beck, our good friend from Marshfield School Days. Thank you, Dennis, for allowing us to use that song at the beginning. Good afternoon. I'm Lyndall Fraker. I'm here again with you today with Marshfield Old School Times. And I've got two guys here that knows everything there is to know about Marshfield School's buildings. John Dale Evans to my left here and Larry Scott. Guys, welcome today.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us. We're really excited to be able to have you here and talk about maybe some stories from the days when you guys walked these halls and kept them clean and kept the restrooms clean. And I know you've witnessed a lot of stuff over your career. And so what we're going to do today is just kind of rehash that. I want to talk a little bit about yourselves, about your families, kind of bring everybody up to speed on what you've been up to since you've both been retired. And I think we'll just have some fun. We're relaxed and make this real easy and get this history documented. That's what we're trying to do, is preserve stories from days gone by. I wish we would have done more of that in days past from some of those that have went on ahead of us. And so we want to make sure we do that for future generations, and that's what we're doing today. So we're here at Grand Central Headquarters, the old school building on the second floor, in the old George Ballard and Herschel Reed Counseling Office. For some of you may remember that. And we're just going to start right out today. John Dale, I want to welcome you again, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and where you're raised, and kids, and so forth.
We were raised here in Marshfield. Monday I will be 79, and I've been married 61 years.
Wow.
Sandra Rose Rixey was her maiden name, and she lived on a farm just south of town, and that's where she grew up.
You were raised right here in town or outside of town?
I was in town.
In town?
She was outside of town.
Yeah, gotcha. And you had brothers and sisters?
I had one brother and two sisters.
Okay.
James, I can't remember his middle name, James Evans, Mary Evans, and Donna.
And your parents what were their names?
Marvel Evans and Alice.
Okay.
She was Pippin.
Pippin. Okay.
And my grandfather had a little store in Stratford.
Grandfather Evans or Pippin?
Pippin.
Okay.
Grandfather Pippin.
Awesome.
Grandfather Evans was from over Buffalo.
Ken, do any of the other Evanses around in Webster County, or do you know? Maybe distant? Hard to say.
Don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one of the original family that's left. Then my father, when he remarried, Tammy Evans came along, and she married Larry Scott.
Gotcha. So you two are brothers-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Danny Wheeler is my stepbrother.
Okay.
And he helps with the senior center. He delivers meals and
Okay.
stuff like that.
You and Sandra had how many children? Two kids?
Two kids.
Tell us about them a little bit.
Rock and Candy.
Mm-hmm.
They both went to school here and graduated from here, and then they both got married and moved away.
Yeah. Grandkids?
Got 4 grandkids. Candy Minor and Hannah Evans, Ethan Campbell, and Ben Campbell.
There you go. That's awesome. And so you obviously went to school here in the 50s and the early 60s.
Yeah.
And so your era would be there, but then you went to work.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
How you got hired.
I was driving a truck for MFA, and one day I had the end of my finger cut off, and I wasn't able to work. And I was over at the main office, and Mr. Barr walks in, and he said, "John Dale, could I talk to you out here?" And I didn't know what was going on, and
You were a young man, right?
I was 21.
21. Okay.
And we walked out front, and he asked me if I'd be interested in going to work at the school in the new building they were building, which was going to be the junior high.
Which was now the Webster building.
It is.
Yeah.
And now that's how
That was about 1966.
Yes, 66.
Then you ended up working at Marshfield Schools until you retired in the 2000s.
Yeah,
Made a complete career with them.
yes, I started in 66, and when they built the new high school and made the junior high into part of the high school, I just stayed there.
Yeah.
And worked in those buildings, and when the new high school was built, I moved over there.
You told me that was 39 years.
Yes,
Do you think there's anybody that worked at Marshfield Schools any longer than you?
I have no idea.
At least in that time period, in that era, I would say not.
In that,
Yeah.
while I was there was nobody
And
working.
something else, and I don't know if you've really thought about, but your name may be as recognizable to all of those students, all those kids that came through the school system in that 39 years. Maybe your name may be as recognizable as anybody's. I don't know if you thought about that.
I haven't really thought about it, because, people come up and talk to me, and I feel bad because I can't remember their names,
that's natural. Yeah.
And then I drove a bus 10 years after that.
Wow, that's
So-
another 10. That's 49 years.
So, you see a lot of kids.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's remarkable.
And I enjoyed the kids. And I still have kids come up and say things to me. And one day in Walmart, there was a girl came up, and she was kind of timid, and she said, "John Dale?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I used to work for you when I went to school during the summers. They had a program through OCAC, and she was one of them that worked there. I couldn't remember her, but there were so many of
There've
them.
been hundreds of them with them.
Yeah, because they did that for several years."
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Larry, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm married to Tammy,
Mhm.
and she's his little sister. We got 3 kids. Larry Eugene's the oldest, and then I got Lindsay is the daughter, and then I got a younger son, Lance. And Larry works at Joplin Stockyards. He lives down there at right down there.
Uh-huh.
And Lance lives right outside town, and he works for Marshall Machinery. He's the mechanic up there. He started up there when he was 15, right before he turned 16, mowing and sweeping and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just trained him on up since then. And Lindsay works at the Treehouse. Used to be in CDC.
Mhm.
She was a teacher, now she's the assistant director. So,
Good deal.
so
And so you started. You tell us a little bit. You went to school at Marshfield. And
yeah, I went to high school here. I moved from Kansas City down here in 1970. My uncle and grandma lived down here, and I always come down in the summertime and stay with them. He got me a job working with him. He worked at Thad Lane's chicken farm out there,
Yeah.
and he told me before the summer was over, he told me, he says, "You can stay down here and I'll help you go through school if you want to, because the parents are still up there." And I said, "Okay." So I called mom and dad and told them. They said, "That's fine." And then they moved. They eventually moved down a little bit later, but I stayed with them. Then I started high school here. And first day I came, we'd been so busy, I hadn't had a chance to get a haircut, so my hair was pretty long, and we walked into, who was the principal then?
Mr. Walker.
Yeah, Mr. Walker.
Uh-huh.
And he come out there where I was at. He says, "One thing you got to do before you come to school." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Get your hair cut." Mom says, "We're going to do that today. We took this Saturday off to get all this stuff done." And so I remember that.
That was about 1970 or 71.
It was 1970 when
Yeah.
I came down here.
And so you told me you graduated in 74.
Yeah.
So that we talked about this last week or the week before, but times were kind of changing. It went from short hair, and girls had to wear dresses in the 60s, and then about 73 or so, the long hair comes in. They protest. There was a protest. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that. You
Only reason it was long on me was we just hadn't had time. to
Yeah,
attend.
yeah.
I mean, we worked
That
every
was-
Saturday and all week long till 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
right.
It,
But there was a shift in our culture right about
Yeah.
that time. The Vietnam
Yeah.
War was kind of coming into an
Yeah.
end by then, but people were getting a little bit fed up with things. But yeah, definitely interesting times. So you graduated in '74, and then you said you went to work at Durbin Durco for a while. Yeah.
right after school, because I worked my junior year, like we talked earlier, over at John Dale's building. I did a hallway through that OGAC program. Well, they could never give us an answer for that summer whether they was going to get the program. They kept putting, Mr. Gentry was trying to figure it out. He couldn't figure it out. Well, I had a car and stuff, so I had to have a job. So I went out to that factory and got a job, and I worked out there. And then I just, after school, they said they'd hire me full time, so I just went out there.
Yeah.
And and then in 1988, they was getting where they wasn't doing very good, and I seen the job opening for the school, so I came over and talked to Mr. DeHart and Gentry, and they said, well, you can have the job if you want it. I want it because it was for the same amount of money that I was making for what I was doing a whole lot more.
Right.
And plus I had school offered insurance. So I actually kind of got a little raise there on by having the insurance. So,
Yeah. And that was you went to work in this building.
yes.
I
I started as a night guy,
uh-huh.
and I worked till that next summer, and the day guy left, and Mr. Gentry just moved me over there, and we had to clean the building, so we was cleaning the building, and finally one day I asked him, I says, what are we going to do? I said, am I going to be the job? Do I get this job, or what what's going on? Because I said, I feel kind of funny bossing these other guys around, when I'm not, not a boss. He said, yeah, you got the job. He said, we just ain't, at the board meeting, we're going to make it official. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
then I just, was there, and then I drove a bus for a long time. I had a bus route in town.
While you were a janitor too,
Yeah.
in night before, yeah, makes for a long day.
Just in the evening, it wasn't a morning route.
I see.
It was just, they needed somebody to run a bus route at night. So,
Yeah.
it,
John, you and I were talking about when you started in '66, and they put you in that new building, which is now the Webster building, but it was
Right.
built high. You had the Hubble building, which was the elementary building, and then you had this campus. So you just had the three buildings, you
Yes.
might say, three campuses. And we were talking, and you were the only janitor in that one building.
Right.
And Harry Robinson was the janitor in the elementary building.
I don't remember if there was anybody else in there with
well,
him or not.
There might have been later, but when I started first grade in 1965, I'm pretty sure he was the
course,
only janitor.
At that time, the building was still pretty
It
small.
was. It was. They made the expansion. And then the Kaner brothers, Lee and Ab, were over here.
Right.
So there were four janitors. I know you had some help with students and things in the summer, but basically four janitors for the whole system.
Right. Now, we didn't always have students working
no,
after school.
Yeah.
I would work during the day and then clean up at night.
You would have to clean up at night,
Oh,
too?
yeah.
Wow. How many hours would you put in a day?
Oh, you wouldn't put in but about 10 or 12, maybe.
Well, that's plenty.
That's not too bad.
10's not, but 12's, that's a lot of hours.
Well, the building was small at that time.
Yeah. But you had to. Cause
Some of that stuff you could do, like the lunchroom and stuff like that, you could do during the day
after
while
lunch.
they were still having class.
Right.
So,
But still, you guys, it's a big job.
and then if you had a ball game at night, you'd go game.
Did you get
Because you did
overtime?
have junior high ball games.
Did you get overtime
Well, at that time, I was paid salary,
in the? Oh,
but we did get paid, we got reimbursed for
Did you?
going in working nights.
Yeah. well, it's a lot of work. You guys really,
It was a lot of fun.
you really
though, too,
started in
really.
public. I'm telling you, you really did.
It was a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
really.
Well, that's good to hear. That's
Yeah.
good to hear.
I thought it was.
yeah. I enjoyed doing it. I mean, there's always certain times you don't like certain things,
Right.
but,
So you didn't really
overall.
spend a lot of time in this old building, John.
No, I didn't spend a lot of time. I did some, but not a lot.
Right. But Larry, you did. You spent almost your whole
Yeah,
career in this
till-
building.
Till we moved out in
2001.
Yeah.
So tell me, Larry, what can you remember as being really interesting about this building? Was there anything, an event or anything specific about this building that really sticks out? You know, stories or, you know.
Well, there's a couple stories. I know we talked about one a while ago about the roof blowing off over here.
Tell us about that.
Well, I come in one morning and I went up these halls to get on the east side, and I looked down the hallway, and there was water all over the floor. And I thought, the drinking fountain broke. And then I went a little further, and I seen the ceiling was falling.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee. So I went in that one room. I went out and I called John Dale, and I said, John Dale, we got a problem over here. And he said, well, take care of it. And I said, I can't take care of it.
Yeah.
I said, you got to come over here. I said, I need some help before school starts. 'Cause I said, he said, well, what's the matter? I said, well, got water all over the place. I got ceiling tile all over the floor. And he said, oh. So he came over, and we climbed up there and looked. And they was building the new high school then. So he went over and talked. Well, we called Dr.
Donnie.
Howard.
Dr.
Was here
Harris.
then.
Yeah.
We called him and told him and John, and he said, "We'll call over there to Donnie Crawford and see if maybe their crew could come over."
Yeah.
So they kind of rolled the roof back a little bit, got it down, and then they came. had
Actually
somebody-
put a new roof on
Yeah,
it,
they
I
put a
think.
new roof on it. Yeah,
About that
because-
time, I know.
Yeah, and
I think Styles did that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Styles did that,
Yeah.
but they got it down where it wouldn't leak, so we could go ahead and have school.
Right.
And then there was another time that we had a break-in.
Mm.
And I came down, I always come down over the weekends, I always had to come and check the boiler, make sure it was working. And I always walked the building while I was here. And I come up here by the superintendent's office, which is right down the hall, and look down this hallway here, and then up them stairs, and I could see this stuff all over the floor. What is that? And so I stepped back, turned the lights on, and somebody had broke in, they took a fire extinguisher and
Oh.
shot all up down the hallway.
Uh,
And then it went in the classrooms and turned over bookshelves and file cabinets.
Huh.
And so I called Mr. Gentry, and he said, well, I've got a deal that I've got to go to. And he said, well, call somebody to help you. And I said, well, Tammy and the kids were with me when we stopped by, And I said, well, and he said, well, if they'll help you, go ahead and clean it up. And I said, okay. So they helped me clean it up.
Uh-huh.
We picked stuff up.
yeah.
That was kind of,
Yeah. You know, and we talked about this, so all in all, John, you even mentioned that really kids were pretty good over the years. So when you take in general, they
Yes, they
really
were.
were. They were respectful, and
Yes.
you know, you're going to have a bad seed every now and then, but
No,
all in all,
you seem like you could get along better with the kids. And
well, everybody liked you. I can tell you. I remember everybody liked you. You could, I think you were friendly and nice to kids, and
well,
that makes a difference.
they were all nice to me.
Yeah, yeah,
there was just a few, like that instance.
Yeah.
We never did find out who it was.
Right,
Whether it was
right.
kids or whether it was adults.
right.
Which, it just, they didn't really, destroy anything. It just kind of messed stuff up. a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah, right.
Other than the fire extinguisher.
I just enjoyed being around them.
Yeah, I mean, I like being around kids
around
or I
ball
wouldn't have done it.
games
Sure.
and stuff like that.
And see, everybody, they tried to talk me into going to the high school at one time.
Uh-huh.
I says,
And you went on over to the new school,
yeah.
right after they
Yeah.
built it.
And
You
after-
went from
What
there.
is the junior high now?
Yeah,
And Webster was all one.
all one
It was a high school at that
Mhm.
time. So I just stayed there.
until they built the new high school.
Yeah, and
Then
then
you
I went
went
on over there.
Yeah.
And I did help Joe Gower move stationary seats out of this gym
Mm-hmm.
and to what is the junior high now.
Right. Yeah.
He would take them loose and get them separated like he wanted them. And then we'd help him carry them
Carry them over.
in over there.
And of course, they've replaced them now. I think.
Yeah, they
with
replaced
some
them
brand new
finally,
ones.
and with the bleachers.
Yeah.
After told him, I said, after I left, just make stuff easy.
Well, you know,
But it used to be that our forklift was me and him and the other two guys that run the other buildings.
Yeah,
I bet that's right. I bet you guys, you know, you really
But I
did
mean,
have
we
a lot of work
managed,
to
so
do.
that's all that mattered, you know. I mean, it had to be
Yeah.
done, so we just did
Yeah.
it.
you had so many people that you were doing for, and they appreciated what you did.
They did. I think they did.
The teachers, the kids, everybody appreciated what you did.
Right. Right. You know, I mentioned this in one of the earlier shows. One of my fondest memories of childhood was coming to the old gym over here and watching basketball games.
Yeah,
The boys ahead of me, you know, the ones that graduated in the late 60s, early 70s. And, you know, you walk in that front door and you got the smell of popcorn. The FFA boys were popping popcorn and just the jazz band, Mr. Lewis's direction up there on the stage and the sound. It was just an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And the place would be packed. You couldn't
Yeah.
hardly find a seat. Those were great childhood memories.
I actually went to 1 or 2 ball games in the old gym over here.
Oh, you did? Well, tell
Yes.
me about that, because I haven't really had anybody on. Well, Don and Leona, but
I don't
Do you
remember
remember
much
much
about
about
it.
it?
I just remember going to the
Going
ball
to it.
game and setting up on this far end
okay,
and watching a ball game.
on the north end maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so did they have? Do you remember? Did they have bleachers all the way around it? Pretty
I
much.
can't
you
remember
remember?
for sure,
Yeah.
but, cause I just went in and got up there
Yeah.
and sat down.
You know, in all of, I haven't really found good pictures of that gym, and I haven't researched a lot, but you know, that's one piece I'd like to know more about, and we will learn hopefully as we get.
Pull
Maybe
the carpet up and tell you.
Well,
Floor
did.
under there.
well, it is under the stage part there,
Uh-huh.
but see, that wasn't the original gym floor.
No, it's on over this way a little bit.
Yeah, well,
But you can see
we make
before we put the carpet in there, you could
Well,
could see the old line.
Yeah,
and
you
stuff.
you can see those on that stage part,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that little gym we used to play in
yeah, the
there,
little gym, yeah,
but the big gym was down.
down lower, yeah,
On down.
yeah.
And there was actually a hole over there, you could move part of the floor and go down and underneath that.
It's still there.
Should be.
And you could go down and underneath it.
Yeah,
Cause they stored stuff under there.
but see, they took the flooring up,
Yeah.
or pillars
Yeah, and
for
raised
the,
it up.
when they raised the floor, so you don't see the old gym,
No.
original gym floor.
No,
You can still see some paint on the walls underneath there, around the edges.
But didn't they just raise the old gym floor up?
Well, it could be the original floor. I don't
Because,
know.
I mean,
I don't know.
it had the stripes.
Well, yeah, but see, they striped the little gym.
yeah,
That was
They
the little
used
gym he's talking
Okay.
about. They made a
little, just for,
elementary, basically.
yeah,
For the elementary kids to play and have assemblies and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why it has that stage where that became our library. But it's boy, if those walls could talk, you know, there would be some tremendous stories. And the old locker rooms and restrooms, you know,
Yeah, they're little-
kind of where your office was.
Yeah.
It's all part of that.
there's a couple of rooms back there, there's bathrooms.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I became director, I don't know what those rooms were used for.
I wondered if it was like a concessions area. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't
They would have
remember.
had to have had that somewhere.
Cause there was, when
Yeah,
my,
because the
Kind of a
part of
window.
it was the locker room. That.
cause there
Kind
was
of a window there.
there was a caged in area
Yes.
Mm,
where I
Yeah.
got the desk and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And it's still, you
So
can still
that
see it.
probably was part of it, was.
Because you went back in there and there was a bathroom back there.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Then
And
and
we
we had
had-
to use to be some old stools or showers there somewhere.
They were both two locker rooms and a restroom, but we had one lady in here said that they actually had a girls' bathroom in there in later years in that
Yes.
area. You go through that little door by the foxhole through there, and that's where a girls' bathroom was.
right down beside the library,
Yeah. Mhm.
there was boys and girls bathroom back in there at one time.
Oh, yeah.
And then this downstairs now wasn't like it when I was here.
No, they did that
They had
renovation in the mid-'80s. They did that ADA stuff,
Yeah.
and you probably remember it, but. And then in the '90s, like '91, we have the plans. That's when they did the major renovation. Now, Larry, you were here
Yeah,
then,
yeah, we went through that.
and tell us a little bit about that.
It was interesting. I mean, we had a lot of stuff we had to try to move radiators, you know, the steam radiators that hung on the ceiling, we tried to take all them down because of the damage. And then we tried to knock the old ceiling down if it was loose,
Stuck
keep
it
it from falling down. Because I remember one time we had some in the superintendent's office that fell down one day, but luckily there wasn't nobody around when it did.
But that's when they dropped the ceilings, put
Yeah,
the ceiling
they dropped
tile in.
all the ceilings down. They put new electric everywhere, which it needed bad. 'Cause, you know, we had wires that wasn't good.
Yeah,
I can't remember when they put the floor tile down.
same time.
Same year.
Same year.
Yeah.
Did they do all that over the summer? Do you remember?
Yeah, they started a little early. What we did was we moved some stuff off the third floor, and they could move some of them rooms
Yeah,
to different places, and they could work in
Kinda
them
started.
areas.
Yeah.
And
that'd
get
been quite a
started
project,
because-
especially that electrical. That'd have been a big
yeah,
deal.
I mean they had a lot of people running around during summer, and then we'd come in and do the floor and stuff after
Right.
they got done and stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever go up in the attic, the very attic?
I looked up.
I know there's a
Yeah,
trap door up
it's-
there.
It's not safe. We had one of the roofers go up there one time. That was before they remodeled. And he wouldn't get up there. He said, I'm gonna get my ladder. He said, there's too many wires just hanging there.
Oh, the old wiring.
Then it was the wire we was using.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was before they did the
I see.
remodeling.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told them whenever they was talking about remodeling, I said, well, you need to take some pictures of some of this stuff, and I said, get it out there to the public and let them know
Right.
how things is, you know,
Yeah.
they'd probably vote for it.
Yeah.
You know, because I said, you know, we're
Yeah.
talking, you know, not, you know,
Well, that's all been abandoned. There's not a stick of old wiring like
Yeah.
that's in use.
And I know-
They did a good job in the 90s with that.
when we cleaned, we had to watch our vacuum cleaners when we'd suck the water up after stripping and stuff, because we never had no ground wires.
Right.
And if you touched the top of that thing, it'd let you know that it didn't want you to touch it.
Right, right.
You know, so I mean, it wouldn't kill you or anything, but it did give you a little bit
Yeah,
of shock.
Get
you
your
know?
attention.
that's right. That's right.
But no, after they did all the wiring, it's always worked good.
Sure.
And then they put the other heaters in the first floor in the hallway and in
Mhm.
classrooms to help circulate that.
Yeah, yeah. And then
the
of course,
steam.
they've got a furnace in the superintendent's area with air conditioning.
Yeah.
It was added in the 80s or sometime.
That was in there.
That was already there, but did a lot of
Other
work.
than that, we used the boiler to heat it on.
Yeah. Underneath the stage, the old locker rooms, there was an old boiler down there originally.
Yeah, it went kaput, and
Yeah.
it's cheaper to put the gas heaters in
Yeah,
each
yeah.
corner of the gym rather
Yeah.
than replace that.
And then, of course, the school foundation added air conditioning to the, actually replaced those furnaces and added air. So
Okay.
that was a big deal about 15 years ago when they did that, 10 years ago, I guess, to be able to use the gym in the summer, because you couldn't use the gym in the summer.
When did they replace the windows?
About that same time, it would have been about 10 years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
we were involved in that school foundation. I was on the board, still
And
in.
that probably helped a lot.
Helped a lot. Yeah,
In the afternoon, you sure get a lot
it
of
would.
heat in through
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that. You remember graduations they would have in that gym? You know, by middle of May, end of May. Back then, it was pretty much the end of May, maybe even the 1st of June. It'd be so hot in there. That
Yeah.
thing would be packed. You know, you just couldn't hardly stand it. And then the gym just had to pretty well shut down in the summer. You just couldn't stand it in there. But the air conditioning's made a big
And
difference.
like I said, I didn't work over here much, but
Yeah, it is hot down
Yeah.
we would get together and redo the gym floor.
there. Yeah,
We did the gym floor ourselves.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd screen them and then put new finish on them.
Summers were busy, weren't they? All the floors had to be done.
Yes. And as time went on, the equipment got better and,
and now they have a lot of equipment.
I was thinking about telling a little bit more, and the bus would stop here, and before they would drop us off at the Hubble building, the elementary
Right.
building, and then on the way home, reverse, and it's kind of amazing. This would have been the mid-60s. All the students, the students that would be standing out there smoking. You know, where the bus is parked on Chestnut over here. And of course, it wasn't a big deal, you know, but all these high school students would come out, the bell would ring, and they'll be able to lighten up, stand out there smoking. And of course, I know the boiler room was a common place for the teachers to go smoke, and smoking was just part of life. But how times have changed in that
all
regard.
done it.
Well, yeah, but times have just changed. I mean, it was so acceptable socially, and now, you know, it's really not very much. So. Just the things like that over the years that have changed, the dress codes, and all those kinds of things. Title IX, when the girls started getting sports, you know, back in the early 70s.
That was a good move.
It was a good move. I mean, it's all good, but just the way we used to do things and how we do them today, it's so people. I think young people today go, really? They did that back then? Really? You know?
Yeah.
And of course, we were fortunate here in Marshfield. We didn't have a lot of racial tension and stuff, but look at the communities that did and how things were.
Yeah.
You know, we used to use this gym on Sunday afternoons too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, OCAC had a program for a certain age group to come in and just have open gym.
Okay.
Me and my wife watched it.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we had the open gym. We had the open gym.
Yeah.
It was through OCAC.
Was that when you were still working?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Way back there then.
It'd been a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then we moved. We did it some over what is Webster Building now too.
Okay.
We had it over there or something too.
That's good. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And we had a lot of kids that would show up for it.
Yeah. The schools have been such a big part of the community. I mean, really, especially back in those days. I mean, that was everything happened at the school, you know. And that was the it and the square. And fortunately for Marshfield, they were right here close together. But that's where it all happened. You know, you didn't have much on the spur. You didn't have anything on the other side of the interstate.
No.
And
One road that came in for a long time before the overpass.
that's right.
When the Ritz Theater was in,
Mhm.
a lot of times toward the end of school year, they would have a show for some of the kids to go up to. And
Oh, like at the end of afternoon, the afternoon
yeah.
matinee or something. Yeah, that's neat. I didn't realize that.
yeah,
And of course, kids would walk to the square or walk up to for lunch in those
Yeah,
days. You
I
could.
remember
and
that.
there used to be
Did you do that?
Yeah.
there used to be a little shack set right across the street here. The old Hosmer house
Yeah.
was there. The rock fence.
Yeah.
On this end of it, there was a little concession type place set up there, and you could go over there and get stuff.
That's a new one. I hadn't heard that. Do you remember? We talked last week about the people sitting on the rock wall, and
I didn't see last week's.
well, Linda Blazer, we were talking about. Mr. Hosmer didn't want kids sitting on the
Yeah.
rock fence, but Mrs. Hosmer was really nice. But I think back in the day, he would put grease on the top of the fence, axle grease, buggy grease. They'd get it on the clothing to keep them from
Yeah.
doing that. I didn't know if you'd ever heard that story.
No, I hadn't.
No.
So
And I had never seen any of it, but
yeah. When you went to school, John, you're a little older than us. I guess riding around town was a big deal.
we didn't ride around. We walked.
You walked.
I lived up kind of southeast here,
Uh-huh.
and we walked to school, and we went to town. We walked, and
But after you got old enough to, did you get a car in high school or
no,
no? Not till after. Okay, so you walked. Yeah. What did you do? I mean, did you get to go to the theater much or the show?
I couldn't go to theaters.
Oh, you couldn't.
No, my father was a minister,
Oh,
Assembly of God,
uh-huh.
and way back then it was more Pentecostal,
Yeah.
which I'm not knocking it. I
Sure.
love it,
Sure.
but they had their
Had rules.
rules, and we went by it.
Did you?
That was
Yeah. Did you get to play ball?
no.
Because Frisco
I
Ball
didn't,
Diamond.
didn't wear shorts
I see.
and stuff like that.
I see. Frisco Ball Diamond was right there.
Yeah.
That part of town.
Now I did play softball after with the old guys.
Got older, yeah. Oh, you mean like adult league later
Yeah.
on? Softball was pretty big in Marshfield
At one time.
in the 60s and 70s.
But it
wasn't
seems to have gone away.
You don't see much about it anymore.
Mm-mm.
But it was pretty big. There were fast
was.
pitch and slow pitch, and
Yeah,
Marshfield had leagues, and then Stratford built that complex, and
and Lonnie Wilson
yep,
had that complex.
There was a lot of people played softball.
Anyhow, we just walked,
Yeah,
and it wasn't bad for us.
no, that's right.
Probably good if I did more of it now.
Well, you're doing pretty good for 79, I'll tell you.
I feel
I
pretty good
I
most
wouldn't
time.
have thought you were there yet, but we're all getting there. So.
Yep.
Larry, how about you growing up? Of course, you said you grew up where?
Well, in Kansas City mainly.
Yeah.
But I mean, we moved from Kansas City a couple of times. We moved to Stratford one year, and we moved to Texas one year. My dad did paint, and we'd move around. He'd find some jobs somewhere, and we'd
Yeah.
go live there a while until he'd run out, and then we'd move back somewhere else. And then after I moved down here, I just stayed down here. But I worked, so when I got my license, I had to get a car because I went to work after I got out of school. And then I worked on Saturdays when school was going on and stuff. So I didn't play ball or anything. I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Because, I had to support myself.
Yeah.
Because parents couldn't, they just didn't make enough for,
Places like that, you could
yeah,
get a hamburger or whatever.
yeah.
Cafes around the square.
But,
Marshfield's a good place.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be from and a great
It
place
is.
to be to live today.
And it's changed a lot. If if you're older like us, you can look at, because I tell my kids, I says, all this stuff on the spur, there wasn't nothing out here. That one gas station where Sonic is now.
Mexico.
We used to stop there and get gas for Uncle and Grandpa and Grandma. We'd come down on Saturdays.
Dr. Tommy had his office.
Yeah.
On the other side.
On
The
the other side
Sanders
over
Pharmacy,
there.
and that was about it.
And you had to get on the interstate and drive down a little ways to get to 38 to go on out.
Yeah.
'Cause we lived about 12 miles out of towards Elkland.
Did you?
Off EE out there.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed the time working at school.
Yeah.
And a lot of people says, well, how can you work with them kids? They're just, I said, they're just at an age, they don't really understand what they're doing sometimes. They don't act right. I says,
Junior high.
you just
junior high
ignore,
was a tough age.
yeah, you just ignore 3/4 of what they do.
Bits and pieces, but I'd like to know what you've heard.
Before we did the remodeling, you used to have the old straight windows.
Yeah.
When the wind was blowing and stuff, you could, and when I was cleaning, at night, you could hear doors slamming and everything else.
It was a little eerie.
It's a little eerie, One night, I was down here cleaning, and the third floor, there was 2 or 3 doors slammed. I thought, I done been up there and I locked everything. So, and I already turned the lights off, so I thought, man, I just didn't want to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's, and then I've been down to the gym sometimes when you walk down there, because you had to walk, when you walked in them double doors, you had to walk down at the end and turn the light on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of eerie at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but I mean, I don't believe in ghosts and all, but there could be something out
Makes
there
you think.
sometime. Yeah. It's kind of.
Did you ever hear any stories like
No, I never did.
No, he wouldn't come over unless scare him.
I
But
was busy at night.
my kids, I'd bring them down here and they'd just run.
But any building you're in, you'll hear a popping sound
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
They just,
But them old windows, they
Yeah.
didn't fit tight.
Right.
And if the wind was blowing real bad,
That was part of the 91 remodel too.
Yeah, they replaced
That's
all.
a big deal.
Yeah, they replaced all them,
Mhm.
which that needed that help.
Yeah, thermal paint and everything.
Because if you had them windows open, rainstorm come up, you get everything wet before you get them all shut.
Right. Yeah.
But the teachers would leave the windows open for us when it was hot because they knew we wouldn't be up for a while to do their rooms, and
Uh-huh.
keep it cooler on for us, you know, which I mean, you know, and we appreciated that.
Sure.
But boy, if it come up a rainstorm, you was hurrying to try to.
I would imagine before the 91 remodel, there was no way you could put, there was probably not any window air conditioners anywhere.
No.
Because of the power, there wouldn't have been enough electricity to handle them.
Yeah.
But then they were able to put some in after that, like
Yeah.
we have today. You know,
Like in here,
window units stuck here and there.
principal's office had it, and then the superintendent's had the big one outside.
Yeah.
But,
But now there's several.
that's all they had air conditioning in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's several window units that had been added over time by
Yeah.
various
Yeah.
groups, whoever, but
Yeah.
maybe 110 units just plugged in the regular receptacle, but it
Yeah.
made a big difference.
But I mean, you know, before they did the wiring, it never worked.
Yeah.
It'd been blowing breakers all the time.
So what have you guys been doing since you've been retired? Anything fun? Do you go to the fishing or lake or anything like that, or do anything fun? I see you driving around town.
I drive around a lot. I don't have.
Because you didn't get to drive when you was a kid, right?
I guess, I don't know. I just don't have anything to do. We moved from the house,
Uh-huh.
so I don't have any lawn work.
Oh, you don't live over here?
No, I don't have any lawn work or anything like that to do.
I see.
When I lived over here, I would help my neighbors. There was one lady, she had cancer and
Yeah.
she had a hard time mowing her yard. So I mowed her yard for her every week.
Yeah.
And it was just, I went over and did it. I
Sure.
didn't want anything for it. I
Sure.
just wanted to help
Help
her.
your neighbor, yeah.
And another neighbor, he had hip replacement and I helped him. He's just a good friend, so. And some others lived across the street in a duplex. I would help them, so just trying to help my
I
neighbors.
didn't realize you didn't.
Yeah, we live out at White Pines Estates,
Okay.
the senior citizen.
Yeah. Good.
We got a 2-bedroom place.
Yeah.
We love it.
Good. That's perfect. Yeah.
Everybody there's just about our age and,
Uh-huh.
you know, good neighbors.
Good. How about you, Larry? Do anything fun?
Oh, we go to Branson once in a while. We just, you know, we just do little things and help people out when they need help and stuff. Just keep busy.
But shoot, I've got where I
I
don't
got
like
stuff
to
around the
drive
house to
much
do.
anymore.
Really?
Yeah, not like I used to.
I got plenty of stuff around the house to do. If you got a house, there's always something. to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
So, you know, and we got a great grandson, so we play with him.
Hey,
quite a
that's-
bit.
That's important. That's
They
for
all
sure.
come on Sunday. The kids always come, except for Larry, the oldest, because he lives far away.
Yeah.
And he works on Sunday, so. But they come for lunch, so you get to see the little grandson again, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, guys, you can think of that's just really kind of vivid memories of your time serving here at the school or even around Marshfield, you know?
I enjoyed when I retired from the school. Not leaving the school, but just retiring and driving the bus. I went to drive the bus as a trip driver. So I did athletic trips. And I loved
Like that.
being able to go, and of course you get to watch all the games and
Yeah.
track or whatever you were doing.
Uh-huh.
And you just travel all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
We even took little kids to the zoo in St. Louis and went to took jazz band to Kansas City and just different places, you know, it was fun.
Yeah.
But athletics, I always really
Yeah.
enjoyed watching everybody.
Right. Well, you know, you guys really have, you just don't think about the service you provided our community and the jobs you were in. I mean, really it's important. It's very important to have good custodians in a school system and keeping our buildings clean and responding to calls and just being able to be around kids and be a good influence for kids. And I know that you both were. That's one reason you're here today, because people just think a lot of you guys, and you know, we think about Lee and Ab Kaner
Yeah,
and those other guys that have served in that capacity over the years, and we just really should appreciate what custodians do and all service personnel in the school system. we talk a lot about teachers and administrators, but sometimes we don't think about the lunchroom workers and the custodians and all those support staff that, makes it all work. It wouldn't work without them. When we had Senator Blunt in for the 100th anniversary of this main building, we had a cornerstone celebration, and he mentioned in his little speech, his grandfather was a course custodian in this building 100 years ago, or not 100 years ago. It was a 100-year celebration. It was back in the 40s, I think.
Yeah.
30s and 40s, he was a custodian. I guess it would have been Leroy Blunt's father, Mr. Blunt, and they lived at Northview, in that Northview area. And, he talked about how important it was to have people, the influence that hard workers have on young people. You don't even know what influence you might have had. There was probably people that had influence on you, that hired you and that you worked with, and when you were pushing a broom for John and as a high schooler. It's just really important.
Well, when we worked, we tried to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Because
always,
there wasn't many of us.
That's right.
I mean, we had to, rely upon everybody, each other to do different
Yeah.
things.
I guess the point I'm making is you guys were just as important to children in their education and their growth and growing up as some teachers would be, and just really appreciate, your service to our community. And the school system was the community back in those days, pretty much. So appreciate that. Appreciate your time, and
Well, I just appreciated the chance to do it.
yeah.
It was a lot of fun over the years.
Yeah.
A lot of years and see a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I haven't been around the schools since I retired much, except when I drove a bus, and I'm just basically driving through. And I haven't seen all the changes they've made in all the other buildings. And I know they've made a lot. And the new building they got over at Hubble, that's a sharp looking
It
building.
is, yeah. Yeah, I haven't done a good tour of that building myself. I've seen the main entrance there, but nice
Yeah.
addition.
I don't know, I just really appreciated it.
Yeah,
Appreciate Mr. Barr giving me the opportunity.
Mr. Barr was quite a guy.
He was.
He really was. I mean, you look at Mr. Barr, Mr. Walker, Mr. DeHart, Mr. Gentry, and
They're all,
just top-notch people. And,
They were.
and we all learned from them.
Yeah.
They became part of our culture here in our community for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what else in Marshfield can you think of that, just in your lifetime has been something that you might mention? Anything else? Like, I know for me, President Bush's visit was a big deal, just being in town that day and being a part of that. Has there been anything that comes to mind over the years that you'd like to share before we're about out of time? We're going to wrap this thing up.
oh gosh. I don't know, there's been so many things.
Yeah.
Every year the parade,
It's amazing, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah.
And we've had presidents here.
Yeah. There's not too many communities that can say that they've had the longest running
Yeah.
Fourth of
Exactly.
July celebration west of Mississippi, and one that still continues to get as big or bigger than the one before. I mean, it just continues on.
We don't get out as much as we used to.
Yeah.
We're getting quite a bit older, so we
Yeah.
pretty much stay in a lot. I get out and drive around town some.
Yeah.
Just like to see what's going on, but usually we stay out about an hour or so, and then we go back home.
Mhm.
And that's where we,
That's good for you, though. It's
Yeah.
good to get out.
it helps you get out of the house.
Yeah.
You don't want to sit inside all the time.
Yeah.
And I've got a good neighbor, I sit out and visit with him some, and
Good. Well, guys, thanks again. I think we'll wrap this thing up, and appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
in, and we'll
thanks for having
we'll
us.
keep doing
Yeah.
this. And again, if there's anybody that would like to be on the show and talk about any particular subject, why we'd be happy to have them. We'll look forward to seeing you around again. All right.
All right.
Thank you, John.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Larry.
Thank you, Lyndall. Thank you.
We will not be here next week. We're going to be out of town, but we will be the following week. And we have some guests lined up for this fall. So stay tuned. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
But anyhow, thank you.
Yeah.